Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
Now finally reached the end of the road, a long NBA season. It feels like yesterday we were just talking about the first round of the NBA playoffs, but here we are now talking about the 2023 NBA Finals. And so obviously, as we all know, we have the Denver Nuggets coming out of the West, and now we have the Miami Heat coming out of the East. The Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Who do you guys got and why?
Man, I think picking against my team is a key here. But this time I think this is like a fair evaluation. I got the Nuggets winning this in 6. The reason being is that we're a heavy zone defense, and we troubled Boston a lot with zone, forcing their shooters to hit big shots, and they're unable to. But you know, the Denver Nuggets, I was reading a stat, they're the number 1 team against zone this season. And of course, they have a guy that picks apart zones like it's nothing in Nikola Jokic. Other than LeBron, I can't think of anyone else that beats zone consistently like Jokic. And so when you have Jokic there, and the amount of shooters that they have in MPJ, and Bruce Brown and Jamal Murray and all these, and Aaron Gordon in the corner, and every single guy that KCP, a bunch of guys that hit shots at a high clip. I think that's problematic for our zone defense. I will say this: our 3-point shooting is off the charts this postseason. I don't expect us to cool off one bit. The Nuggets do struggle in guarding the 3, and that was evident in the Lakers series. The only problem was the Lakers don't put up threes at a high clip, but that was something that the Nuggets have issue with. They don't guard the 3 particularly well. But one thing that I am going to point out is that, Bam Adebayo's job is not to stop Jokic. That's impossible. You're not going to stop stars in the NBA. But one thing that I am going to point out is I think people are underrating how good his defense is potentially against Jokic in this type of matchup. I think his job isn't to stop Jokic, is to try to make Jokic work for every single bucket, whether that's fronting him, getting physical with him, beating to his spots. As Tristan Thompson pointed out today, he was like, one of the ways that you can try to stop Jokic is, get close to him, get physical with him, beat him to the spot, fight for your real estate. And so that's something that Bam's going to attempt to do. But ultimately, I think Jokic is just too much of a problem. It's going to be impossible to stop. He has too much size and length on Bam. But one thing that we are going to try to do is attempt to target Jokic on the offensive end. And I did see success in that game 4 with LeBron going downhill against Jokic and attacking him in the pick and roll. A lot of the teams so far in the postseason haven't had a ton of success doing that just because of Denver scheme, the sheer size. But one key factor that I do have to point out for the Nuggets is I think we're going to have no answers for Aaron Gordon. Whether we play Kevin Love, I think he's just going to overpower Kevin Love, or he's going to get by him. Caleb Martin's too small to be able to stop Aaron Gordon. I think that's the one guy that's a key factor for them, and it's going to be a bit hard to stop because whether he's on the dunker spot and, you pull Bam away from the rim, who's going to be under there? Is it going to be Kevin Love? Is it going to be Caleb Martin? What are we going to do with Aaron Gordon? Jamal Murray and MPJ, that's a different issue to handle. But, Aaron Gordon is going to be in the dunker spot constantly. And so that's a guy that we're going to have trouble attempting to stop. But on the offensive end, I think Bam has to try to make Jokic work, use his speed, use his quickness to get by him, run out offensively, do whatever you can to get Jokic tired. You have to get out and beat him to spots, get baskets whenever you can. And then Jimmy Butler, I think, is going to be probably guarded by Aaron Gordon. He has to attack his matchup. A lot of times in the last series, I was not happy with Jimmy Butler's play. Constant pump fakes and, looking for fouls and, being a bit hesitant. That's not Jimmy Butler's game. When he goes downhill and he attacks and, he uses his quickness, whether that's against someone like Aaron Gordon or uses his size, if that's against Bruce Brown, that's his type of play. So, offensively, we're going to move the ball a lot. We're going to have to try to beat them with our 3-point shooting. But ultimately, I think the size and the play of Jokic and Aaron Gordon and MPJ is going to be a bit too much for us to handle. And I expect us to get killed on the boards. That's the one area that I'm a bit worried about because even in the Celtics series, when they started to come back down 3-0, everybody was crashing the glass. Robert Williams, Al Horford, Derek White, Jason Tatum, everybody, Jaylen Brown, even at one point, everybody was crashing the glass. And Denver Nuggets have been unbelievable on the glass this season, especially in the postseason. So I expect us to struggle there, and I have the Nuggets winning in 6.
We've been giving the Heat, a lot of good stuff coming into this finals. You feel me? A lot of people, yeah, have been picking them. I've been picking them. I've been going against the team, so I don't know why he's going against him again, but I feel like the little superstition magic that he's been working, it ends. And I feel like I'd be giving a little too much credit. I think it ends in 5. I feel
No,
like
don't get me wrong. My problem is though, I think people are treating the Nuggets too much like it's a 2017 Warriors. They're a
not the
great team. Don't get me
2017.
wrong.
Not,
Don't
they're
get me
not the
wrong.
2017.
Yeah.
They're
But
not the
don't get me wrong, they're a
2017
great
Warriors.
team, but it just feels like everybody's just like writing off the Heat like right away. Like I would not be surprised if we push them to 6 or 7, but like at the same time, like I feel like offensively, this is by far the most disciplined and best offensive team that we're gonna see this
That's what I
entire
was gonna
playoffs.
say. I feel like they're the most disciplined and offensive team in the playoffs, and even like during the clutch moments. You guys been in a lot of big clutch moments, and you guys won games in big clutch moments. I feel like the Nuggets down the stretch in clutch moments feel like they got an advantage over you guys. I feel like they just execute better on offense, and defensively they just tighten up. And they're 2-star players in Jamal Murray and Jokic. Every game they've been phenomenal in the playoffs. Every game they've been showing up in the fourth quarter. They've been hooping. They've been putting up some crazy numbers, and their supporting cast has been there every single night. MPJ, Aaron Gordon, KCP, Bruce Brown, guys like that. They've been showing up and been producing. They got 6 guys in double-digit numbers offensively and scoring, and defensively. They've been clamping up. They went up against LeBron and AD. KD and Booker. They went up against some tough guys, and they're about to see Jimmy Butler and Bam and some guys that that got some grit into them, that got some fight into them. Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Kyle Lowry's off the bench, Duncan Robinson. Those guys, they're gonna come in, they're gonna have to show up, and they have to play phenomenal every game. It's gonna be tough. They let the Lakers shoot. We are not a good shooting team. We had a lot of threes, but we didn't make a lot. And I feel like Miami, if they get some opportunities that we had, they start hitting those shots, it might be a little different series. But to me, I feel like the Nuggets got it in 5, and Jokic and Bam, I feel like Jokic is gonna give him hell. He's gonna give him hell. Lakers kind of find a way to put AD on Aaron Gordon, and kind of put Rui on Jokic, and have AD help and somewhat try to slow it down. That still didn't even work, and I feel like you guys don't have that size on the bench. You guys don't have that size on the floor with Bam. You guys are a pretty small lineup, and those guys from point guard to center, 6'5" and above, from Murray to KCP, MPJ at 6'10", Aaron Gordon at 6'10", Jokic at 7 feet. They're built. They got some size, and they're going to be putting the ball to the paint. They're going to try to get a lot of offensive rebounds. They're going to be attacking a lot. So it's going to be tough for you guys on the size end, and it's going to be tough. And I feel like Bam is not going to win that battle. Offensively for him, he has some good games offensively this playoffs, but still the inconsistency for me, him finding his shot, him trying to find a bucket in the paint. And it's going to be tough for him against Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and MPJ. They got some size down there, and it's going to be tough. So we'll see what happens, but I got the Nuggets in 5.
Yeah, I mean, the Miami Heat, what a run these guys have been on. These guys have been on an amazing run from day one. Going all the way back to the play-in tournament, where they lost the first game to the Hawks, and they were a couple minutes away losing to my Bulls, but here they are now. And the one thing that I've learned from this Miami Heat team all the way up until this point is that they're a very, very resilient team. These guys understand the moment. Some of these guys have been here before. They understand that, in any situation, they can be the better team, but they just have to lock in. And for these guys to get their get back from last year, in Game 7 after losing to the same team, it's a great feeling for them, and I'm sure they're coming into this game 1 in this series with the utmost confidence in themselves. But I think this is the end of the road for the Miami Heat, and I say that because I feel like the Nuggets, Jokic is going to do his thing. Jokic has been pretty much unstoppable in this postseason. Jamal Murray's been amazing. And these guys, they play the best team basketball you can think of. And I feel like, they're very well coached. Big H mentioned it, they're very well disciplined. And I feel like the Miami Heat are going to have the Miami Heat are going to have a very hard time trying to slow this offense down, because, the Denver Nuggets, they could speed it up on you. They could play fast-paced basketball. They could fly up and down the court, but they can also run a half-court offense themselves. They can run a lot of sets in the half court and get quality buckets for each and every one of their guys. And so I have the Nuggets winning this series in 6. I wouldn't be surprised if the Miami Heat push this series to 7 games, because those guys are very battle tested. And so, I think Jokic is going to do his thing. He's going to dominate. He's going to get the better of Bam, but Bam has to do a great job at slowing him down and trying to beat him to his spots and kind of just throw him off his game a little bit, because if you double Jokic, he's going to find the open guy. And I feel like that's just not going to be the smart play for the Miami Heat. And if you kind of just let him go one-on-one, that's your best bet. You kind of have to just live with that matchup between Jokic and Bam. And for Jamal Murray, he's gonna have to do what he's been doing so far. He's going up against guys like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry defensively, and so this is another matchup for him that he has to take personally because he's better than all of those guys. And so, but the thing is, the difference between these guys and the Los Angeles Lakers is I feel like the Miami Heat, their role players are just a lot better than the Lakers, and so the ability for them to hit shots from the outside is just a true bigger threat in comparison to the last series that we just saw between the Nuggets and the Lakers. And so for the Miami Heat, the one way that these guys can somehow, some way come out victorious in this series it would be to apply a lot of pressure at the rim. Jimmy Butler, we saw a lot of pump faking at the basket in this last series against the Celtics, but that's because he was going up against guys like Robert Williams and Al Horford, and so and while having a guy like Derek White guard him on the perimeter. And so I feel like in this specific series against the Denver Nuggets, knowing that they don't necessarily have a true rim protector, I feel like Jimmy Butler is going to have his way with any defender that they throw at him. Yeah, they're pretty much going to have to double him and force the Miami Heat to kind of put the ball in somebody else's hands and force another guy to beat them. But Jimmy Butler is going to do his thing. But I feel like, the one guy that needs to come back in this series is Tyler Hero. And a lot of people have disagreed with me on this one. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this one, but I feel like Tyler Hero, although he has been ruled out for game 1 and potentially game 2, they're basically targeting him for returning game 3. I feel like Tyler Hero would be the perfect fit in this specific series. I know, a lot of people don't like Tyler Hero defensively, and he slows down the game and the ball kind of just sticks with him. But I feel like in this specific series, you need a lot of bucket getters, and especially when you're going up against an offense like the Denver Nuggets. And so I feel like Tyler Hero, if you're able to find minutes for a guy like Duncan Robinson, who knows his role, I think that Miami Heat can do a good enough job at, slotting in Tyler Hero when they can, because, when Tyler Hero has it going, that's a 22, 25 points per game scorer right there, alongside the guys that you already have, like Jimmy Butler, Bam, Gabe Vincent, and Caleb Martin. So if he's able to come back in game 3, if let's say the series is 1-1 split going back to Miami, that'd be in Miami's favor tremendously, because if Tyler Hero is able to come off the bench in any capacity, he's going to be able to provide buckets for this team, and that's exactly what you need. And so all in all, I
think there is a problem with that though, because Draymond was talking about this on his show. He said, if you go down 0-2, well, yeah, it makes sense to go and start playing Tyler Hero, put him in the rotation right away, because you needed some sort of spark. You're down 2-0, but if the series is 1-1, you stole home court. You got a game on the road. You did your job. You went in. You took a game from Denver at that elevation. You went to their home. You took a game. Does that mean that you suddenly just start tweaking the adjustments? You start fitting him in when you already stole home court? Because if you're 1-1 against a number 1 seed and you took away one of their games from home court, is there really a necessity to put in Tyler Hero at that point? Because, you made it this far into the playoffs without him. I do think he was going to have a pretty solid playoffs. I think he was going to play good, but you already made it this far without him. Is it a necessity to even fit him in the lineup at this point, especially the fact that he hasn't played basketball in a month and a half? It's been so long since he's touched the basketball and really had like a lot of basketball movement in terms of just a playoff game. It's not a regular season you're bringing him back in. You're bringing him back into a playoff game. So finals on top of all that. So I think, I'm kind of the mindset that if we're down 0-2, yes, I think he should get some run. But if it's 1-1 or somehow magically we're up 2-0, I don't think he should really touch the rotation, because, you already have a set amount of guys that you're already going to play. So that's where I'm at with it.
I feel like, even if it's 1-1, I feel like he was projected to come back in this situation. If you guys were in this situation, he was still projected to come back one of these games. And I feel like, growing into the situation, if it's 1-1, you guys are down 0-2, you guys have to put him into that. Not into the lineup, but, give him some minutes off the bench, let him get his fill back for the game. Because I feel like he's that type of player that can get his own bucket, that can create his own shot, that can give you, the points that you need off the bench or as a starter. He can, score for himself and try to find, create for other teammates. And defensively, you can hide a guy like that. You can hide guys like that.
Kind of tough, I can't lie.
It is tough
because we play a heavy switch scheme.
Yeah.
So, like, our starting lineup, with Caleb Martin, for example, like, there's no defensive liability. Like, everybody can hold their own defensively. That's Gabe, that's Max Strus, that's Jimmy, that's Caleb Martin, and then of course, Bam. Everybody on the lineup can hold their own defensively. Duncan Robinson, he's the type of guy that's gonna come in 15 minutes game. He's gonna shoot his shots, and he was competing defensively in the last series. I mean, like he wasn't like a liability defensively. I think the only guys really that you can write out as liabilities defensively is just Kevin Love, to be honest, and Cody Zeller. Which I haven't even talked about this. Yeah, I think the really where we're gonna get hurt is the non-Bam minutes. When Bam sits, I think that's a part where we might just absolutely get crushed because I don't trust Kevin Love and Cody Zeller enough to really feel confident about them in this type of series. I like Kevin Love next to Bam. I think he spaces the floor well. But if the Nuggets decide to attack Kevin Love and put him in a lot of actions, I am worried about that. But getting back to the point, I think it's kind of tough to put Tyler Hero in this type of lineup. I mean, you had a set rotation going on. You have Caleb Martin beaming with confidence. You have Gabe Vincent beaming with confidence. Of course, you have Jimmy and Bam there. And if Tyler Hero bought into a role where he was going to be a spot up shooter, and he was going to hit his buckets here and there, maybe. But at this point, is it really worth bringing back somebody who defensively it's a big problem and doesn't really fit your scheme? And offensively, we've been predicated on ball movement this entire postseason. I mean, how many times has the ball swung from side to side, gotten to the 3-point shooter? Is it really worth it bringing a guy that's going to stop that? So I just feel like even if it's 1-1, like I'll be happy with 1-1, and I think we should just stick with what works.
Yeah, I mean, you're the Heat fan, but to me, the type
if
of
we're down
caliber
0-2, like hell yeah, just bring it back. Might as well. We're losing.
I don't know. For me, it's like the type of caliber player he is, and if he's on my team, would have won him back immediately. I won't, even if it's him coming off the bench, giving 10, 15 minutes.
I mean, to be fair, like you got D'Lo, fam.
Yeah, I know we got D'Lo.
Yeah, D'Lo and Vando and Beasley.
Vando and Schroeder.
They're ready to play though, and I feel like he was ready to play too. So if he gets an opportunity, I feel like it might be a little different, type of game for you guys, and different look, to give the Nuggets. The Nuggets, they're watching you guys throughout this whole playoffs with this type of scheme and look that you guys been playing, and for them, it might throw them off a little bit. And, Hero might be that burst of energy you guys might need to push through and get to that chip. So who knows what might happen, but we'll see.
I think even if the series is 0-2 or 1-1 going back to Miami, I think bringing back a guy like Tyler Hero would help this Miami Heat team a lot. And I feel like, obviously we know what he brings on the offensive end, and it's been a while since he's touched a basketball and since he's played a game. But let's not forget that Tyler Hero has been in this type of situation before. He's been in the NBA Finals before, in a different setting, of course. But at the same time, the NBA Finals are still the NBA Finals. You're one of the last two teams standing, fighting for that Larry O'B trophy. And going back to that 2020 run for the Miami Heat, Tyler Hero was arguably one of the best players in that run, especially in that Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics, where he pretty much dominated each and every game. And I believe in one game he had about 37 points, and he was a rookie back then, just leading the way. Jimmy on the court with Jimmy Butler and Bam, and those two guys were amazing. Tyler Hero, the rookie, was taking these guys home, and closing out the deal against that very tough Boston Celtics team where they had, guys like Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Horford. And I think they had Robert Williams back then as well. But so it's kind of like, I understand that you throw Tyler Hero in a situation like this, you don't know what to expect. But I feel like, with Tyler Hero having the experience of being in the NBA Finals and playing through long postseason runs, I feel like if the Miami Heat are able to just kind of find about 15 to 22 minutes for him in any sort of capacity, I feel like it would help them in their favor. And so if they're down 0-2, you kind of just throw them in and see how it works. But if it's 1-1, I think Eric Spoelstra has to kind of game plan accordingly and make sure that, not the rotations aren't getting thrown off, and you're not necessarily forcing Tyler Hero to play a lot more than he has to. Because I understand that, when you're down 0-2, obviously, you're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink. You're just throwing everything at the wall, hoping that some sticks. But if it's 1-1, I think Eric Spoelstra was one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen and one of the best coaches in the league. I think he can game plan accordingly and kind of fit Tyler Hero where he's, wherever he may see, wherever he fits on this team. And so I think, Tyler Hero would be a huge plus for this series. In those first couple of minutes when he comes back, whether it's game 3 or game 4, it's going to look a little rusty because obviously he hasn't played basketball since April. But at the same time, once he settles in and once that shot starts to fall again, it'll help the Miami Heat a lot. And defensively, I mean, the Miami Heat have been great, going zone and then kind of just going man. They did that against the Boston Celtics, and it kind of threw them off their game where, in one possession they're starting off in a zone, but with about 10, 12 seconds left in the shot clock, they're going into man and then they're kind of just matching up with their guys and letting the guys go one-on-one. And it worked. And so I feel like they can do the same thing with this Denver Nuggets team, but they got to be a lot more disciplined, man, because, the Denver Nuggets are a great three-point shooting team, and they've been great throughout the course of the regular season and in the postseason. So, the Miami Heat have to understand that there's a tall task at hand. They can't afford to slip up like they did against, in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics, where they kind of just let a couple of games slip out of their hands because, one or two games go not in your favor. That can pretty much determine the outcome of the series. And so, I'm going to go ahead and stick with my pick, Nuggets in 6. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Miami Heat pushed these guys to the very end, going all the way to the distance, the end of the distance, which is 7. Because these guys are battle tested. These guys are resilient, and Eric Spoelstra has always talked about it. These guys have no quit in them, and they have a very, very strong leader in Jimmy Butler, which knows the task at hand, and he's looking to go out there and earn himself his first ever NBA championship. And so I'll stick with my picking Nuggets in 6. But before we jump off this Finals MVP, who do we think is going to walk away with this one?
It's going to be a pretty obvious pick to me, but Jokic, I think it's pretty straightforward, to be honest.
I think Aaron Gordon.
You're a jokester.
Jokic for sure, man. I mean, if the Heat pulled through Jimmy Butler, he's gonna make some history, for the Heat. But Jokic, I don't think anybody comes close to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting Jokic to come into this series once again, average a triple-double, and earn himself his first ever NBA Finals MVP along with the NBA championship. But once that happens, or if it happens, it's going to be a lot of uncomfortable conversations that we're going to have, and I believe we'll be ready to discuss that when the time comes, with how everything has gone for the Denver Nuggets and how everything's gone for Nikola Jokic specifically this entire season. But
record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Yes, now late, now that's overkill.